Hey guys, it's Fiore. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a clap the easy way using both traditional and easy methods. This will be the first video in a series of videos where I dive into the sound design methods and techniques that I use in my own drum kits and sample packs. But before we get into any of that, if you were one of those interested in joining the beat battle announced in my last video, please make sure you go over to the community tab on my YouTube channel where I've announced an update regarding the rules for entry. I will be extending the deadline as well as giving you guys a little more freedom in terms of the sounds that you'll be using. Now, before we get into this video, if you are someone who is interested in sound design, making your own drum kits, or doing any of that sort of thing, please make sure you turn on notifications for this channel as I will be posting a lot of content related to that in the near future. So, with nothing else to say, let's dive right into this video and get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just show you guys some of the more common methods for making claps. I'm going to show you guys kind of how to do it in two different synthesizers and then move on from there. So, first one would be Sytrus for those of you in FL Studio. So the first thing you'll do is go to the default preset here. We're going to go to OP1, which is your first operator. We're going to turn this slider all the way up for our noise. We're going to go ahead and select the volume and envelope tabs and enable the envelope. Go ahead and just right click along here to draw yourself a few nodes. We're going to take this first one down like that, second one up like this, third one down like that, fourth one up like that, and we're actually going to draw another one just like this. Now on its own, this is going to sound like this. Obviously not quite a clap yet. Now we can shorten this, and if you want to play around with this shaping here on the amplitude, you can actually get some unique characteristics going into the post-processing that will cause you to have a more unique clap. It'll be subtle, but it'll make a difference. That's good there. So go ahead and right click on this right here. That will turn the sound off temporarily. We're going to go ahead and set this to a BP, which is a bandpass filter. We're going to turn the first filter all the way up on the first column, which is the first operator, and do the same with the output. Now obviously that doesn't sound like a clap, so what you have to do is take this resonance and turn that up. You can play with the cut here to turn where that resonant frequency is. And you can also adjust these here to change the degree of resonance. Now the other thing you can do is turn this mix down and turn on the wave shaper and sort of mix that back in. Just going to add some distortion. If you find it too harsh, just ease back on the resonance. Now, if you want to make a tighter clap, when you're back on that first step here, just reduce the number of spikes in this volume envelope that we've created. Or just shorten them. It's up to you. In this case, I want it to be a little bit tighter. There you go. So not bad. Now we can also blend in a second filter and just maybe turn both of these kind of down for now, or turn that one off for now while we just work on the second one. You can do like a low pass or something different. We're going to go ahead and turn that down, turn this one back up, and now mix in this one slowly. You can kind of hear it beefing out a bit. So there you have it for Sytrus. Pretty simple. And this is again a very common way of making them. You can even play around with effects here inside of Sytrus. I prefer to use them externally using third-party VSTs or whatnot. But what's common right now is just a dry clap And I'll show you guys a little bit more on how to take that to the next level. So we can go ahead and record that clap using Edison and save it for later. And then before we jump into post-processing, I'm going to show you guys how to do the same thing, but this time in Serum. All right, so for Serum, it's a very similar process. Serum is a very powerful synthesizer for both sound design and music. I highly recommend it if you don't have it already. I believe there's a free demo version of it on Transfer's website where you can use it for maybe like 20 minutes before it goes silent. At least that's how it used to work. I'm not sure because I own it. But for Serum, you're just going to turn off this first oscillator here. We're going to go over to the noise and turn that on. We're going to enable one-shot mode, which is this button right here. And we're going to go through our noise menu and just pick out just your standard white noise, right? You could use either of these. And honestly, you can flip through and use whatever noise you want to make a clap. But for the sake of this tutorial, we'll keep it basic. Now, just like Sytrus, we're going to draw an envelope that has multiple transients in a short burst. But to do that in Serum, the easiest way is to actually take this LFO, set it to envelope mode, and begin drawing that design. Now you'll notice, as I mess with it, nothing changes. The reason is we have not tied this LFO yet to the level of the noise, right? We're going to turn that all the way down to 0%. We're going to right click, go to mod source, LFO 1. Now when you see this orange dot here, or whatever the color is on your skin, you can move this up or down by clicking and holding, and that will change the range of the LFO, right? So this being the low end of the range, this being the high end. So if we go here, when it's at this high point in its playthrough, it's only going to go that high on the level, right? So we want to raise that up. I'm going to say 80. We're going to go ahead and take our first point, draw it back, double left click to draw another point, double left click. Leave it right there. Now, we're going to go ahead and take this and just be a little more creative on this one than we were with Sytrus. Raise that level actually all the way up to 100. That's probably fine for now. We're going to jump over to the filter here, enable it. Make sure that you turn off oscillator 1 or A and assign the filter to the noise. Just like in Sytrus, we can do a band pass here. If you like the band 12, we're going to need to turn that cutoff up and that resonance up as well. Now you'll notice it's a bit quiet with that bandpass on, so you can actually drive it. And again, bouncing between these things, we can make some tweaks and adjustments to get the sound that we want. That's not bad right there. But if you want to take things a step further in Serum, I encourage it. This is where experimentation comes in handy, and you can get some unique tones and make some stuff that will set your kits apart. So I'm going to take this second LFO, I'm just going to draw like a simple pattern like this, turn on envelope mode, and I am going to start assigning it to some various things. First thing I'm going to do is assign it to this cutoff, LFO 2. I'm going to make it so that it drives the cutoff forward when pressed, right? I'm going to make a pretty small range for it. It has a pretty big effect. And I'm going to do the same thing with the resonance. Except with the resonance, I'm going to make a sharper resonance initially. And I'm going to drag this down so that it flattens out the resonance a bit as I press a key. And I'm going to take this. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. That's a little extreme, but we'll go ahead and apply it to the drive as well. And I'm going to create a little bit of a pitch envelope with LFO3. Just like this. So now I'm going to take this envelope mode, I'm going to go to the pitch, modulate it with LFO3. I'm going to start with a bit of a higher pitch, say 55%. I'm going to drag this back down, -5 back to our original pitch. All right. Play with that curve. Now from here, we have our basic clap. We can go in and we can add effects. We could change the noise sample. But we'll just stick with our original one for now. Go into our effects. I'm going to add some distortion. I'm going to select post. Kind of want to turn that resonance down, so I'm going to drag that down. Just drive it here. And I'm going to kind of parallel process it with this wet dry knob. It's without with, so that kind of darkens the tone a little bit. You can change the type of compression here. If you're going to go with something like that, you might want to back off the drive or the mix. That's not bad. I'm going to add compressor. We do like a short attack to sharpen that transient, let it come through. With some of that dry signal through as well. You could take an EQ, cut the lows. All right. Give a little boost to the high end. You know, really whatever you want to do. Some people will put this. I'm not a big fan of how this sounds. Right, just makes it a little too stereo for my taste. Dry, sort of more mono claps are way more popular right now. But this dimension knob is definitely nice. Right, just to give you a sense of what it's doing. Just play with it, right? So that's good enough for now. We're going to take that, we're going to export that into Edison, and then I'm going to show you guys the really fast and easy way of doing claps. This is what I do with most of mine now. Ever since finding this VST, I have to say that it has made it a lot easier. So whenever I make something in Serum or Sytrus, I save a preset so that I have a sort of a starting point. I save those samples, and then I take those samples and I start doing post-processing with this VST I'm about to show you right now. Okay, so this plugin from Audio Thing called Hand Clapper makes like clap design, in my opinion, far easier. And I'm going to show you how I use it in conjunction with the other techniques I just showed you. So basically, like I said, I get some source claps. I start with those and I bring them into this VST. And then I'm going to show you kind of how to add just various characteristics or qualities to them that will get things to another level in terms of your sound design workflow. So the first thing you can do, just when you're looking around Hand Clapper, there's plenty of presets here, right? So I wouldn't recommend just taking these presets and exporting them as your own drum sounds, right? Another sound designer had to make these presets, or they're modeled after a drum machine, which has also been used as a source sample in many drum kits. So if you want to get a little more unique, kind of make your own claps from scratch, get them to a point where you're satisfied, and then what you can do is drag them in. We're just going to drag it into Hand Clapper. Now we have our sample inside of Hand Clapper, right? What you're going to do next, and this is the sort of the workflow hack, right? So there's creative inputs, and then there's things that you can do that are just going to speed up your workflow. So this is what I do. I will take this source knob here and right click it. I will go to this randomizer menu and I will lock this parameter. And what this is going to do is when I hit this random dice up here, it's going to randomize various things in the VST. but it's going to keep this source sample the same, right? It's not going to jump between the 808, the 909, or the HC2 samples that come with the VST. It's going to keep it on mine. I'm going to recommend you do the same thing with the gain. All right, so find your gain level, whatever it is, lock it in. Randomizer, lock. And reverb, I also tend to lock because I just don't want it on there unless I'm doing a clap with reverb intentionally. All right, so just make sure the randomizer lock is on. I also sometimes hit parameter, but for the randomizer, that's what you want to do. Now, from here, we have this, right? Kind of don't like how it sounds. I'm just going to hit this random button. Right about here, I'm going to find something that I like. Now, this is not, in my opinion, a good enough clap on its own, right? It's like way too high end. It's way too tinny. It's lacking some body. But I'm going to export this and we're going to use it as a layer in one of our other claps in a moment. So I'm going to take Edison, just record it straight in, set it to ARM on input, right? Highlight, Control Delete, drag that back over here. We're going to go back into hand clapper. And now I'm going to add the Serum clap into it. Now, if you're not feeling like using the randomizer, there's not a lot going on with this VST. It's not hard to just turn some knobs and figure out what sounds good. We want to make sure that this one has a tone that's a little bit deeper. Now these repetitions, this is the rate at which they occur, and this is the amount of them. This is just like those LFOs we were drawing, those little spikes. Now if you notice, if you turn the randomness all the way up, it's going to be a bit different each time. So you can also drag your claps into this when you're making your beats, sequence them like you would normally. But with the randomness turned up, you're going to have a bit more of a humanized effect on the claps. Not necessarily recommended for like the trendy trap stuff that you're hearing right now, but if you're trying to get that more, again, humanized feel on your claps, this is a very cool way to do it. Right there. I like that one. So I'm going to export that again into Edison, ARM to record. Take that, drag that over here into my sampler. Now let's say I'm done with hand clapper for now. And again, check it out. You have a lot of sound design options with it, being able to drag samples in, but also just the source samples are a good place to start. You can do the same randomizing thing that I showed you to get unique tones and claps. So you don't have to recycle other people's drums, right? This is what we're trying to avoid. Now we're going to take these are both of the claps that we just got. Right, we're going to just go ahead and draw them both into the sequencer here. I like to click a couple in later so that I get a loop that doesn't happen too frequently. And we're going to play with the velocity of them. We can hit pattern and start looping. This is just going to be sort of while we're working. I'm going to go ahead and assign these to the same mixer slot. All right, we could even add in our original samples that we had from the synthesizing before we added hand clapper. All right, sounds pretty good. You could take some panning. The other thing you can do is you can go into the, let's say this one. See how it's offset a little bit? Let's say you wanted to do that manually. You could go into these miscellaneous functions and shift it off, right? So you hear that with that on, with that off. It's a little bit of a sharper upfront transient. This one's got a little more crunch. I kind of like how that is. So I'm going to come over to my mixer channel here and just add an EQ. It's a little bit bright on the high end for me. I'm going to raise this mid here. Cut the low. Just bring this back down. Watch our level. And it sounds a little bit like it's just a little long for me. So I'm going to actually fade out this main clap here, as well as its original counterpart. Just kind of help shorten it up a bit. We can do that with this one too. That being where it's at, you could stop there. You know, again, it's really up to you where you want to stop your design. I'm going to actually add some Foley to this. I think that I can get something interesting. We can even use the Foley from the last video. Yeah, we're going to use this guy. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to go into the audio editor. There's some noise. Right click, noise removal. I hit that once more. Just drag that back into here to replace it. Set that on the same mixer. And just add that in the mix here. Here without and with. Just adds a little bit added dimension to it. I kind of like it. I'm going to actually lower the pitch a bit. That's dope right there. So I'm going to go ahead and take that sound, right, as it's feeding into the master channel. I'm going to make sure my soft clipper is before Edison. Cut that out of there, and I'm going to go ahead and just hit play and record my clap. There it is. There's my final clap. I'll take that, export it, and add it into one of my next kits. Okay, so that about sums it up. One of the things I wanted to mention is, you know, I'm not the first expert on sound design. I'm not even close to an expert yet. But for those of you wondering sort of where I learned, what I've done, I'm going to be releasing a video somewhat soon just highlighting some of the many channels that I've learned from, the people that I owe recognition to and credit to. For this particular video, I can name at least Av McCree. I know that he's done a lot of these sort of Serum drum tutorials, as well as some other channels. I'll try and link to them in the description below if you want to get a head start on what I'm doing and just kind of go watch what I've watched. And again, I promise I'm going to try and keep these videos sort of next level, right? Like I'm going to show you what I'm doing personally and how to take things further in your own sample making. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If it was useful to you, if you learned anything, please subscribe, make sure you don't miss the next one, and hit that notification bell since, you know, YouTube can be bugging sometimes. And I appreciate all the support. I'm looking forward to hearing your entries on the beat battle, and until next time, peace.